Hello, Accelerated Math 7-8 students. We are starting Module 10, Lesson 8. So Module 10, Lesson 8 is called Percent Error Problems, and we can find that on page 57 of my comp book. Turning there. All right, so here we are on page 57 of my comp book, and it's called Percent Errors. Percent error problems. So basically what you need to be thinking about this is there are companies that it's their job to calculate when other businesses or companies make an error. And so in order to calculate the errors, you have to know how to put the information together to figure out if there was an error that occurred. And that's what we're going to figure out today. So today we will learn how to determine percent of error in a problem. So you're trying to decide, okay, where's the real, how far away from the real, and what is the percent of that error? That's what we're doing today. So the question is, when will we need to find the percent of error? Think about some times in your life when that data is really, really important. I'll give you a hint. Maybe cross-country races, maybe performance scores on a certain standardized test so that you can get into college. That kind of stuff is what you need to be thinking about. Things to know. It is a long list. I'm just going to take this off because our practice problem is on the other page. So the things to know that you need to know is percent error helps people understand what an error can do to a situation. That's why we find them. Percent error can be easily calculated if you have the exact information. There are two parts you must have to determine percent error. They are exact value and approximate value. You have to know those two pieces. Exact value is the real amount. Approximate value is the guessed amount. Okay, like you guessed it, or you made a hypothesis, or you went on a hunch and you think it's this. So it's approximate. To find percent error, you must calculate the absolute error first, which absolute error I will tell you about in just a minute. You have to calculate the absolute error. Then you divide it by the exact value, and then you multiply it by 100 because you're trying to figure out your percent of error. And everything when you times it by a percent by 100 turns it into a percent. So this little diagram is going to explain it better so that you know what it means. So the first thing that you have to do is you must calculate the absolute error. So A stands for the approximate value. So the guessed amount minus the exact amount. Say that again. The amount that you guessed minus the exact amount. Then you have to take the absolute value of that. That's why it's called an absolute error, because you're taking the guessed amount minus the real amount, and then you're taking the absolute value of it, and that's how you get the absolute error. Once you know the absolute error, you divide it by the exact value, but before you actually divide it, you have to take the absolute value of the exact value. Okay, when you get that done, then you multiply it by 100, and that's what turns it into a percent. Okay, now this is really important that you follow these steps because that's what's giving you the percent of error. All right, so we're going to try it on the next page, and here is a problem. And yes, I wrote about me. Okay, so we have Mrs. Nelson is hoping to have 12 people come to her house for a party. 25 people actually came. What is the absolute error that Mrs. Nelson made? What is the percent error? So we're trying to figure out what is the absolute error, what is the percent error. All right, so here are the steps that you have to do in order to get this problem solved. Step one, you're going to identify the parts. So what was the exact value? Remember, she was hoping to have 12 people come to her house for the party, but 25 actually came. So what is the exact value? That answer is correct. 25. The approximate value that she was hoping for was 12. So 12 is your approximate. Okay, so we now have that the x for exact is 25 because that's how many actually came. The approximate or the hope was 12. Okay, do you see how we identified those? Okay, step two is determine the absolute error. So remember, to find the absolute error, you take the guessed amount or the hoping amount and you subtract the actual amount. Okay, so now I have 12 minus 25. Well, I have to take the absolute value once I find that answer, but you have to do what's inside first. So 12 minus 25 is a negative 13, right? Did I do that math correctly? 13 plus 12 is 25, and it's negative. Okay. Now I have to take the absolute value of that, so I get 13. Okay. Then this right here, 13, is my absolute error. Okay. After I get the absolute error, I then have to divide it by the absolute value of the exact amount. The exact amount was 25, so I'm going to divide it by what is the absolute value of 25. I get 25. So now I'm taking 23 and I'm dividing it by 25. So not 23, 13, sorry. 13 divided by 25, so let's see what that answer is. Let's see if 6 will work. So 25 times 6 is going to be too much. So that's 12, 13, 14, 15, that's 150, too much. So we'll do 25 times 5. That's 25, 10, 11, 12, 125. That's close. Okay, so we have 0.5, which is 125. Subtract that out, you have 5. And then we know that 25 goes into 50 2 times. So this is my answer when I divide these two. So I got 0 and 52 hundredths. And then the last step right here says that I'm supposed to multiply it by 100. So I times this by 100. So I have 0 and 52 hundredths times 100. 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Placeholder, placeholder, placeholder. 2, 5, 0. Add them all together. And I get 52. So it's 52% error. Ooh, that's kind of scary. So here's what we're talking about. The last one says, step 4, what is your percent of error? 52%. That's half. So would you consider that a large error or a small error? I would say that that's a large error. Anything that's above like 25% is considered a large error. So you'd circle large error. And if you have a large error, then that means that your your actual problem, it's pretty off. And it does. Look, I was anticipating 12, but 25 came. I sure hope I had enough food. All right, so that's how we're figuring out percent error problems. It's actually kind of fun if you can figure out how to identify everything properly. And then your last step is just to determine what the percent error is. Is it large or small? If you want to have a correct answer, or if you're looking for a specific goal, the smaller the error, the better you are. So if you have a large error like mine, woo, that was a large error. Mrs. Nelson was way off, okay? All right, here's one for you to try by yourself, just to make sure you've got it. So try this one. At a winter dance, student council anticipated 450 students. 510 students actually came to the dance. Your job is to figure out what is the absolute error and what is the percent error. And then we're going to decide if it was a large or small. Okay? So, again, think of these steps. These steps are very, very helpful because it very cleanly shows you step by step what to do. Plug in what you know, and let's figure out what the percent error is. Okay? So, going back to our goal very quickly, today we will learn how to determine percent error of a problem. We did that with the steps. When would we need to find percent error? We talked about that as well. So you have this last problem about the winter dance that I would like you to figure out for me, and we're going to check it in the morning, or afternoon when I see you, sorry. All right, that's it, my darlings. Have a good one. Bye.